So Full Circle Animation is a 2D, 3D animation studio. We do all elements are on the across the spectrum of animation, but nothing outside of that spectrum. A lot of times, of course, in the digital media market, you're encouraged and almost tempted to diversify. But over the last 3 years, we've been sort of focusing on not diversifying and becoming very, very good at one element of digital media, and that's animation, and in particular character animation. So European markets, only 2, not as impressive as Natalie mentioned, but for us it was definitely a milestone because the conditions of engagement were very different, and that applies both to when we were directly engaged by a UK firm and when we're indirectly engaged. So when like a French production studio outsources their work to Malaysia, the Malaysian studio has to comply with all the European standards and regulations with regard to trade and as well as the technical elements in terms of producing the animation. So we, by extension, have to comply with both. It's almost like we're an extension of that studio. So there's only 2 experiences we had, but again, it was with the rigor that we didn't experience with the other markets that we exported to, which were a lot less. Well, I don't want to make the European Union sound too laborious because we're all here for that. But there are a lot more technical elements and financial administrative elements that we had to sort of tune into to participate. Just to give you a sense of the projects that we did, one was a music video that we produced by UK artists, and the other was for a series, TV series. Broadcasted by Disney France. Now it is international because on TV now. We saw it on Disney Latin America. So those were 2 projects. This one was the music video. It was a very different engagement. There's an animation studio that was based in the UK, and they were a relatively small studio, overwhelmed with work and managing clientele, and they were hoping to bring a different feel or a different look outside what they would typically do in terms of character design and imagery and whatnot. So they asked us to bid on producing a music video. We had a lot of flexibility in this. I'm glad we have these 2 projects because they're very different. This one is a very flexible. They would give us references in terms of the artists, who they were, and then we would have full freedom, perhaps because they were overwhelmed, to design all the elements of the music video in terms of the storyboard, the look, the story. Well, that's how it started out, and then they keep constraining us at every element. I think we actually ended up telling their story. But anyway, at least going out, we started with that, where we had the flexibility to bring some of the elements. And when you look at this from some of our designers, you could see, even though it wasn't deliberate, some very cultural elements in terms of, the look of carnival and those things. They come out naturally. It wasn't intended. And there's a story behind this, but this is just some of the elements in terms of how we take the aspects of the characters singing the song and sort of bring them into the music video. And the other project was completely different. This was for Disney France, and I say now it's in Latin America. This is a TV series called Lolly Rock that is produced by Marathon Media in France and then outsourced, and that's how we become a part of it. We were actually part of a Caribbean team producing this. A big part, one of our strengths is traditional animation in the region. And so they asked us to come on board and be part of that. So this was very different because when this work comes to us from the French studio, there's no creativity whatsoever. They have these huge Bibles telling us exactly how to draw every line, the thickness of the line, the shading. You name it, down to the detail that they tell you. You're not supposed to think. You're just supposed to produce as they instruct. For this type of arrangement, we get paid per completed frame. It's a very different arrangement. So our ability to be profitable in it would be contingent on the efficiency of the animators. And there's always a huge curve at the beginning while we try to get the art and to sort of, make sure the art is consistent with what they want. So both jobs were, just for you to know, not profitable. These were our first 2 European export opportunities. We did earn income, but they weren't profitable because of the time it took for animators to come up to the speed of production. The overall production that we got didn't allow us to now benefit from them having the experience. So that was a challenge, and we made a loss. That was the bad news. The good news is now we have the experience of a lot of things that cause delays on the front end in terms of doing business with both clients. Now we don't have to deal with that. Now we understand that protocol, and for some of the other markets, we now sort of employ that. On the other side of that, some more good news is having that when you sort of produce work for these studios, it becomes very easy to get work for other people of the same stature. So some of the other areas, some of the other territories that I showed, the only reason we now getting business from those studios isn't because we're particularly better than animators anywhere else, but because we have the experience and the relationships now. We understand the language of communicating, the protocol, the passage of files on the internet, the non-disclosure agreements. First non-disclosure agreement took us maybe 2.5 weeks to get somebody to review and sign. Now we understand the templates a lot better, so we're able to push through some of the delays. This meant a big deal for them, and this is part of the reason we lost some money on the music video in terms of the stringent elements, in terms of the budget and the schedule. I mean, the schedule you live and die by it. There's no wiggle room there. And it could impact not just the money you make on the job, but of course your reputation. So the music video went, there was a time where it went horrible. We brought it back, but it just shows in terms of when these clients, and in most cases, they have other clients and they have to meet expectations. So they're usually very harsh with us and unforgiving for missing these. So now we have a dedicated team specific for the outsourcing jobs that deals with the scheduling and the budgeting.